Hey everyone, welcome to Dungeons in Depth. I'm Hunter, and today we're going to talk about affinity keeps. There are 5 in total, but Keep Guardians, the bosses of these dungeons, have fairly simple mechanics, so we'll cover all of them in one video. So if you've watched our Raid 101 Ascension video, you'll probably remember what these keeps are for. They drop potions that are used as a resource to ascend champions. You need a potion for the corresponding affinity: magic, force, spirit, and void. And you always need arcane potions. The potions themselves come in 3 types: lesser, greater, and superior. Champions of higher rarities and rank need more advanced potions to ascend. And as you progress through the keep stages, you get higher chances of getting greater or superior potions as your reward. And even if you don't, you get more lesser potions that can be mixed later on. Oh, and keep in mind, affinity keeps, except arcane, are only available on certain days of the week. You can see the info on that above the keep on your map. Since we're already in the arcane keep, let's talk about it first. This and all other affinity keeps really follow the classic dungeon outline. So you've got 3 rounds in total, 2 of them are against assorted enemy champions, and third one's the boss. The enemy champions you face here have mixed affinities as well, so you won't ever have a total advantage or disadvantage. And here's Sir Galaroth, the Arcane Guardian himself. He's got a lot of bling and a penchant to challenge anyone who comes seeking the secrets he protects. Better get ready for a fight, cause this is gonna be interesting. As you can see, Galaroth is not alone. He's got 2 friends with him, and they can apply a mass attack debuff on your team, which is never good to begin with. The second one mass removes buffs from your team, which is even worse, and let's see why. Sir Galaroth only has 2 skills. First one is called Wind Slash. It attacks all your champions and deals between 50 and in later stages 75% more damage to anyone who doesn't have buffs. Not something you want to allow. The second skill is called Last Stand. It increases Galaroth's own defense and speed. As you can see, nothing super complicated, but you absolutely want to keep your teams buffed at all time to avoid excessive damage. So take the ads out first, keep buffs on, focus on the boss. From the champions that you already know well, Valerie and Spirit Host are a good choice. Both have mass buffs. Valerie increases the duration of all buffs by 1 and also casts Shield that can help your team soak up AoE damage. Just make sure your team is always buffed and hack away until the end. Should be pretty straightforward. Now on to the Magic Keep. It is pretty much the same structure, but all enemy champions are of the magic affinity. Take heed, your spirit champions will have a tough time here. Meet our boss, Princess Krilla. She's a tricky one for sure. Look here. She starts the battle with an assortment of buffs, including a huge shield that makes it very difficult to deal damage to her. Her guards can mass decrease the defense of your champions, which is really bad news as Krilla's attacks already hurt. And the second one removes all debuffs from Krilla first, then places block debuffs on her for 1 turn. You might see the pattern already. This is a boss whose mechanics are heavily tied into buffs and their removal. But before we go on, let's take a closer look at the skills. Her first attack is called Mow. It targets all of the champions and packs quite a punch. It also has a chance to half the current turn meter of your champions. Magic Shield allows Krilla to apply shield equal to 50% of her max HP, increase attack by 50%, increase defense by 50%, and increase speed by 30%. Yikes, that's a lot of powerful buffs. And to make it better, let's take a look at the third skill. Leyline increases Krilla's attack by 25% for every active buff she has. Finally, Defense Up gives Krilla a shield equaling the entirety of her max HP at the start of the battle, effectively doubling it. So you've guessed it, Krilla having buffs is bad. Really bad. The catch? She keeps buffing herself. Your job will be to prevent that. First off, best get rid of her guards, especially this guy on the right. He's the one that cleanses debuff from Krill and blocks more from landing for a turn, and you don't want that. You also need champions that can remove buffs and block buffs. Let's take a look at some of the options. Conqueror might work well here, and will for earlier stages. Sadly, he belongs to the Spirit Affinity, which is directly countered by magic, so he will get extra damage, won't be able to hit the bosses hard, and runs the risk of wasting his skill due to a weak hit. But don't worry, there are plenty of rare champions that can remove debuffs. Here's just a couple. Courtier from the Bannerlords faction, Hospitaller from the Sacred Order, Anointed from the Barbarians faction works really well too. Slither Brute and Hurler from the Lizardmen. Chopper from the Orcs is especially useful as he is magic, and his Incapacitate skill removes 2 random buffs from the target. There are other rare champions as well, so always keep an eye on skills. Another important tip is using block buffs on Krilla to prevent her from reapplying them when her magic shield goes off on cooldown. And Aeris has an excellent skill for this, Engulfing Flame. She's Force 2, which means she will be countering Krilla's affinity. Mystic Hand from the Dark Elves has a chance to apply this debuff on his basic attack and can be pretty cool, but he needs to be fast to be the most efficient. Same goes for Muck Stalker from the Lizardmen. Finally, some champions can bypass Krilla's shield completely. Halberdier from the Bannerlords has that ability on his Bisect skill, and the Lizardman Skink just ignores shield completely with his basic attack. Those are just principles, of course. Any champions that have skills described above would be a good choice for this dungeon. Just keep affinity in mind. Now let's jump right to the Magic's polar opposite, Force. Same principles apply. Fight through Force affinity champions, get right through to the boss. This guy is Thorn Davil, and he gets extra mad when annoying champions start playing on his lawn. His friends here mass block healing for your champion and also increase Thorn's defense, as if he needed any more of that. Let's take a look. The first skill is Smite, just like all other Keep Guardians. Thorn attacks your entire team at the same time. There's a 60% chance to half your champion's attack as well. Quake is another AoE attack, and it has a 50% chance to stun any champions hit by it. Pretty basic, but unpleasant. Finally, Force Carapace increases the Guardian's defense stat. In earlier stages, it increases to 1.5k, later on to a whopping 4k. Remember our video about champion stats and the long bit in it about how defense mitigates damage? Give it a watch if you haven't yet. But long story short, it's going to counter a lot of incoming damage. Let's see how we can counter this. As always, you should seek to bypass the Keep Guardian's main strength. In Thorn's case, it's huge, insanely good defense. So your primary goal will be applying a decreased defense debuff. Ignore defense attacks works wonders as well, and so do poison effects. Let's take a look at a few champions that you can get early on that can help you. First, you've got Gallic, whose Cursed Blade skill attacks 4 times at random, and each has a 30% chance of decreasing the target's defense by a whole 60%, if it's under 2 or more debuffs. This needs some team building, but it's quite doable. And if Thorn is the only enemy left alive, all 4 attacks will target him, and you'll get a pretty good chance of debuffing him. Then, you can get Sorceress from the Catacombs of Narbuk. Her third skill, Vine Trap, has her attack 3 times at random with a 30% chance of applying a decreased defense debuff. No other conditions, so it works too. Avenger, that you can get from the Palace of Aravia, has a chance to apply a 30% decreased defense debuff with her basic attack, and she's pretty fast by default, so will get plenty of chances to do that. She is magic though, and is at a disadvantage fighting in the Force Keep. Maiden from the Sacred Order has a skill called Sow Confusion. It applies a 30% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns. Marked and War Maiden from the Barbarians both have skills that can debuff defense. Totem from the Orcs and Hound Spawn from the Demon Spawn factions are a good choice too. As far as rare champions go, Kael is probably your best bet for poison. And even if you've chosen another starting champion, it's no big deal. There's Hyria from the High Elves faction that has a mean skill called Poisonous Lily. It attacks the same target 3 times with a chance to apply a top-tier poison debuff. Magus from the Knights Revenant has a good skill for that too. And even if you don't have suitable champions, you can get the Toxic Artifacts set and get a base 50% chance of applying a poison debuff. Or the Savage set that allows all attacks to ignore a quarter of the target's defense. Don't forget about affinity advantages, of course. Spirit champions work best. Force champions won't have many issues either, but Magic will be fighting an uphill battle all the time. And again, any champion that has skills like the ones I outlined above will be useful. Speaking of Spirit, let's take a look at the Spirit Keep. As you've already guessed, the first 2 rounds will be your team fighting through a bunch of Spirit champions. So let's skip right to the boss. This is Sylvania, and a lot of new players, as we've noticed, run into some serious trouble with her. Let's check out her skills to see why. Her first skill is called Melt. It again attacks all your champions. The damages that it deals increases according to how much HP Sylvania has. The second skill is Cleansing Spirit. It removes all debuffs from her and blocks new ones from being applied for 2 turns. Finally, there's Revitalize. Pretty much what it says on the tin. Sylvania self-heals for 20% of her HP in the first few stages, and later on, she can heal a whole half of her max HP. That's a lot, and you can't really outdamage that, which is why a lot of people get stuck at first. Her guards also have AoE skills. The first one has a 50% chance to stun each of the champions on your team, the second one decreases their debuff accuracy. So Sylvania self-heals like crazy and deals increased damage when her health bar is full. Logic dictates that we should prevent her from healing, and fortunately, there's a way. A bunch of champions have a heal reduction skill that will either decrease healing done by half or completely negate it. We've mentioned Rocktooth in our earlier videos, and he's a fairly simple to get champion that has exactly the skill you need. Rabble blocks the target's healing completely for 2 turns. That's pretty significant. Orc Death Chanter can do that too, a bit better even, blocking the enemy's healing for 3 turns. Cold Heart's first attack has a pretty good chance to fully block healing as well, and she's fast enough to spam it. Skink and Gator from the Lizardmen faction can half enemy healing with their skills. And if you've got none of the above, just get Cursed Artifacts for 1 or 2 champions. It gives a good chance to place a 50% heal reduction, which will give you a much better fighting chance. Let's not forget the Cleansing Spirit skill though. Once in a few turns, Sylvania will get rid of any heal reduction that you've managed to land on her and remain immune to further debuffs for 2 turns. You can counter this in 2 ways. Either have champions with high single target damage that can nuke her while she's debuffed, or bring someone who can remove the shiny new buff. Conqueror shines here as well, especially as he's Spirit and doesn't suffer from any affinity disadvantages. Slowing Sylvania down and manipulating her turn meter works as well, since it allows you to land more hits before she can heal. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Block her healing, hit her hard, and win. Still with us? Just one more keep left. This is Void, and the start of it isn't really all that different from the other affinity keeps. 2 rounds with normal champions, then the boss. Here's the big guy himself, Malik Kavar, clearly fancying himself the Dark Lord. His guards mass apply a weaken debuff, which increases the damage your guys and gals take, and the second one removes all buffs and blocks new ones for a turn. Malik himself has an attack called Grim Reaper, extra edgy, which hits your entire team and places a 5% poison debuff on them for 2 turns. In later stages, it places 2 of those. And the second skill is called Bane. It deals damage from all poison effects immediately, so if your team caught a bunch of them, it'll hurt a lot. The idea here is easy. Kill the ads, cleans debuffs, keeps hitting the big guy till he falls. If you want to be extra cheesy and make Malik cry, get Spirit Host and Valerie into the same team and enjoy the former mass cleansing all those nasty poisons and blocking debuffs for a turn, and the latter increasing the duration of block debuffs and helping out by decreasing the duration of poison effects. Of course, any champion that can mass cleanse debuffs will work here, not just Spirit Host. Void doesn't have a direct counter among other affinities, but neither does it put anyone else at a disadvantage, so you've got a lot of champions to choose from. And that's pretty much it for affinity keeps. They are not the most difficult dungeon mechanics-wise, but they are definitely very different from one another and will need different champions to beat them consistently. But these also offer a great chance to practice before going for much harder dungeons and iron out your strategies for dealing with a variety of challenges. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We've got more dungeons to cover yet.